Have you ever noticed how someone who says they're busy somehow still finds a tiny reason to appear in your life? Not with a big confession, not with a dramatic message, just something small. A random meme, a quick question, a reaction to your story. And at first, it seems meaningless, but if you look deeper, you start to see the pattern. Because when someone truly misses you, silence becomes heavy. It sits on their chest. It whispers to them in quiet moments. And even if their pride tells them to stay away, their heart keeps looking for a doorway back into your world. That's why one of the clearest signs she misses you more than she wants to admit is when she finds small excuses to contact you. Now, listen carefully because this is something many people misunderstand. When a woman misses you deeply but is trying to protect her emotions, she rarely comes directly and says, "I miss you." That would mean being vulnerable. That would mean risking rejection. And sometimes pride is louder than honesty. So instead, she does something subtle. She sends a message that looks casual. "Hey, do you remember the name of that movie we watched?" Or maybe, "I saw something today that reminded me of you." Or maybe it's even simpler than that. A reaction to your story, a laughing emoji under a meme, a quick "how have you been?" And on the surface, it looks small. It looks random. But the truth is, people don't search for reasons to talk to someone they've emotionally forgotten. Think about that for a moment. When someone has truly moved on, they don't wake up wondering how to start a conversation with you again. They don't sit there thinking about what excuse would feel natural enough to reach out. They simply continue living their life. But when someone misses you, their mind keeps circling back to you, and suddenly the smallest things become opportunities. A song reminds her of you. A place reminds her of you. A joke reminds her of you. And every reminder creates a quiet battle inside her mind. Should I message him or should I stay silent? Because missing someone is not just about emotion. It's about ego. It's about fear. It's about the question nobody wants to ask out loud. What if I reach out and he doesn't feel the same anymore? So instead of risking that pain, she chooses the safer path. She creates a reason, a harmless reason, a reason that doesn't reveal too much, and that's why these messages often look so casual, so normal, so small. But behind that small message is a much bigger emotion. It's the emotion of someone who thought about you long enough that staying silent became uncomfortable. And here's the interesting part. When someone misses you, they don't just reach out once. They find different ways over time. Maybe days pass, maybe even weeks, but then another small message appears. Another reaction, another moment where she briefly steps back into your world. Not because she has to, but because a part of her still wants to. And sometimes you might notice something else too. The conversation itself may not be long. She might start it, but she won't always continue it deeply. That's because her goal is not always to have a long conversation. Sometimes her goal is simply to reconnect even for a moment, just enough to feel your presence again, just enough to remind herself that the connection between you still exists. Because when someone misses you deeply, they don't always know how to come back fully. They just know they don't want the connection to disappear completely, and that's why these small excuses matter. They are emotional breadcrumbs, tiny signals that say, "You still cross my mind." Now, here's the important thing you must understand. Don't confuse effort with coincidence. One message might be random, but patterns tell the truth. If she repeatedly finds reasons to talk to you, reasons that seem small but consistent, then you're not just someone from her past, you're someone her heart still remembers. And sometimes the people who miss you the most are the ones who try the hardest to hide it, because they don't want to look weak. They don't want to seem desperate. They don't want to risk being the only one who still cares. So instead, they show up quietly, in small ways, in small messages, in small moments. But those small moments reveal a powerful truth. When someone truly misses you, silence is never permanent. Now, here is something many people experience, but very few truly understand. Sometimes the person who seems completely absent from your life is actually watching you the most. Because when a woman misses you deeply but refuses to admit it, distance becomes her shield. She may stop texting as much. She may stop calling. She may even act like she has moved on completely. From the outside, it looks like she has disappeared. But the truth is, disappearing from your life is not the same as disappearing from your world. And in today's world, your world lives on your screen. Your posts, your stories, your photos, your updates. And this is where something very interesting begins to happen. A woman who still has feelings for you might not message you directly, but she quietly keeps an eye on you. Not in a loud way, not in a dramatic way, in a silent way that most men overlook. You post a story and somehow she is always one of the first people who sees it. You upload a picture and even if she doesn't like it, she saw it. You change something about your life and somehow she seems to know. And you start wondering if she's not interested anymore, why she's still paying attention. Because attention is rarely accidental. People naturally watch the things they still care about. Think about it this way. When someone is truly done with you emotionally, they stop checking, they stop looking, they stop wondering what you are doing. Your life simply becomes irrelevant to them. But when feelings are still there, curiosity refuses to disappear. She wants to know how you're doing. She wants to know where life has taken you. She wants to know if you're happy or if someone else has taken her place. But instead of asking these questions directly, she searches for the answers quietly through your posts, through your stories, through the little details you reveal without even realizing it. Now, here's the important part most people misunderstand. Just because she's watching doesn't mean she's ready to come back. Missing someone and reaching out to them are two very different emotional battles. Sometimes pride stands in the way. Sometimes past arguments still echo in her mind. Sometimes she fears that reconnecting might reopen wounds she worked hard to close. So instead of stepping forward, she stays in the background, close enough to see you, far enough to protect herself. And that's why social media becomes this strange, emotional window. She can see your life without being part of it. She can feel connected without exposing her feelings. She can watch without risking rejection. And let me tell you something powerful about human nature. When someone truly stops caring about you, they don't feel the need to observe your life anymore. Your updates become just another post in an endless scroll. But when someone still misses you, every post carries meaning. If you look happy, she wonders why. If you post something emotional, she wonders who it's about. If another woman appears in your picture, her mind immediately begins asking questions she would never say out loud. And this is where emotions become complicated, because the more she watches, the more she remembers. Memories start resurfacing the way you used to talk, the moments you shared, the small things that once made your connection feel special. And suddenly, a simple photo or a short video can pull her mind back into a chapter she thought she had closed. That's the strange power of memory. It doesn't disappear just because people stop talking. Sometimes it only means a small reminder to come alive again. Now you might ask yourself, why doesn't she just message me then? Because watching feels safer. Watching allows her to stay connected without being vulnerable. Watching allows her to protect her pride. And pride is one of the strongest forces in human relationships. It convinces people to stay silent even when their heart is full of words. It convinces people to look from a distance instead of stepping closer. But no matter how strong pride is, it rarely removes curiosity. And curiosity is the reason she keeps checking. She might scroll past quickly. She might pretend she didn't notice. But something inside her still wants to know, still wants to see, still wants to feel that small connection to your life. And the truth is, many people who say they have moved on are still quietly observing the person they once loved. Not because they are weak, but because emotions don't disappear on command. They fade slowly, they linger, they echo, and sometimes they hide behind silent views and unseen attention. So, if you ever notice that someone who seems distant still keeps appearing in the quiet corners of your online world, understand what that might mean. Sometimes the loudest feelings are the ones expressed in complete silence. There's something powerful about memory. Memory has a way of bringing people back into moments they thought they had already left behind. And when a woman misses you deeply, even if she tries to hide it, those memories begin to surface in ways that feel almost casual, but they are rarely accidental. You might be talking with her one day, just a normal conversation, nothing serious, and suddenly she says something like, "Do you remember that time we got lost trying to find that restaurant?" Or maybe she laughs and says, "That reminds me of the joke you used to tell all the time." And for a moment, both of you are pulled back into a memory you once shared. Now, many people think these moments are just harmless nostalgia, but if you look closely, you'll understand something deeper about human emotions. People don't revisit memories with someone they truly feel nothing for anymore. Think about it. Every person has thousands of memories in their life: childhood memories, family memories, friends, old classmates, old coworkers, but we don't randomly bring up memories about every person we've ever known. Our minds naturally select the memories that still carry emotional weight. So, when she keeps bringing up moments from the past that involve you, it often means that those moments still live somewhere inside her heart. Sometimes she may talk about something funny that happened between you two. Other times it might be a place you visited together, a movie you watched, a late-night conversation that once meant everything. And the way she brings it up often sounds light and playful, almost like she's just remembering something random. But what's really happening is something deeper. Her mind is revisiting a time when your connection felt real, alive, and meaningful. Memories are powerful because they allow people to feel emotions all over again. A single memory can recreate the laughter of a moment, the comfort of a conversation, the feeling of being understood. And when someone misses you, their mind naturally drifts toward the times when things between you felt right, because the present might feel distant, but the past still holds warmth. Now, here's something interesting about the way people hide their emotions. Sometimes the easiest way to express a feeling is through a memory. Instead of saying, "I miss the way we used to talk," she might say, "Remember those long conversations we used to have until 3 a.m.?" Instead of saying, "I miss the way we laughed together," she might say, "That day at the cafe was so funny. I still think about it." Do you see the difference? The message is hidden inside the memory. It's safer that way because if you respond warmly, the conversation continues. And if you respond coldly, she can simply pretend she was just reminiscing about the past. No vulnerability, no rejection, just a story about a memory. But beneath that story is often a quiet truth. She hasn't completely let go of the connection you once shared, and memories don't just appear randomly, they are triggered by emotion. Something reminded her of that moment. A song, a place, a smell, a situation that felt similar to something you experienced together, and suddenly your name crossed her mind again. Your voice echoed in her memory, your laughter replayed inside her thoughts, and before she even realizes it, she's telling you about that moment again. Not because she planned to, but because that memory still matters to her. Sometimes people believe that when relationships change, the emotions disappear completely. But real emotions don't vanish that easily. They settle into memories, and those memories stay alive far longer than people expect. That's why certain places still remind you of someone. Certain songs bring someone's face back into your mind. Certain jokes instantly make you think of a person you once shared laughter with. And when she shares those memories with you, what she's really doing is reopening a door that once meant something special. Even if she doesn't say it directly, even if she pretends it's just a random thought. Because the truth is simple. People rarely return to emotional memories unless those emotions still have meaning. Now, this doesn't always mean she's ready to rebuild everything that once existed between you. Life can be complicated. Timing can change. Circumstances can shift. But when someone keeps bringing up the moments you shared, it reveals something important about the place you still hold in her story. You are not just someone she once knew. You are part of a chapter she still remembers clearly, and sometimes when someone keeps reopening old chapters, it's because a part of them is wondering if the story between you was ever truly finished. Now, let's talk about something that confuses a lot of people, because sometimes the clearest sign that someone still cares is hidden behind behavior that looks completely opposite. You see, when emotions become complicated, people don't always act in ways that make sense on the surface. In fact, some of the strongest feelings a person can have are the ones they try the hardest to hide. And this is why sometimes the woman who misses you the most may also be the one who appears the coldest. You might notice it in the way she talks to you. Her replies are shorter than before. Her tone feels distant. She doesn't show the same excitement she once did. It almost feels like she's building a wall between you and her emotions. And naturally, that can make you think she no longer cares. But here's the deeper truth about human behavior. When someone truly feels nothing for you anymore, they usually don't need to act cold. Indifference is effortless. Sis, there's no emotional energy involved. But when someone still feels something yet doesn't want those feelings to show, that's when the walls appear. Coldness is often a form of protection because when a woman still has feelings for you, every conversation can feel like a risk. Every moment around you can bring emotions back to the surface that she's trying to control. So instead of letting those emotions show freely, she tightens her behavior. She becomes more reserved, more controlled, more careful with her words. And sometimes that control comes across as distance. But here's where actions begin to tell a very different story. Even while she appears distant, you may still notice that she finds ways to stay present in your life. Maybe she checks in when you're going through a difficult moment. Maybe she offers help when you didn't even ask for it. Maybe she shows up in small ways that someone who truly didn't care wouldn't bother with. That's because emotions are difficult to erase completely. And even when someone tries to create distance, their actions can quietly reveal what their heart still feels. Think about this for a moment. If someone genuinely wanted nothing to do with you anymore, they wouldn't invest time, energy, or attention in your life. They would simply move forward without looking back. But when someone still cares, they often stay connected in subtle ways, not loudly, not emotionally, but quietly. And sometimes that quiet presence is more revealing than words. You might notice something else, too. Her coldness isn't always consistent. There are moments when the wall seems to soften, moments when her laughter slips out naturally again, moments when she speaks to you with the warmth she once had. And then suddenly, the distance returns. That push and pull can feel confusing. One moment she seems close, the next moment she feels miles away. But that inconsistency often reveals an internal battle. Part of her wants to reconnect. Another part of her is trying to stay guarded, because opening up emotionally means becoming vulnerable again, and vulnerability always carries the possibility of pain. So, she keeps control. She keeps the walls high enough to protect herself, but not always high enough to completely block the connection. And this is why you should pay attention not only to how someone speaks, but also to what they do. Words can be carefully chosen. Tone can be controlled, but consistent actions often reveal the truth much more clearly. If she still shows concern for your well-being, if she still pays attention to the details of your life, if she still appears when it matters most, those actions are not meaningless. They are quiet signals that the emotional connection hasn't fully disappeared. Sometimes the person who acts the most distant is not the one who feels the least. Sometimes they are the one trying the hardest to manage feelings that haven't gone away, because hiding emotions requires effort. Pretending not to care requires discipline. And maintaining emotional distance from someone who once meant a lot to you can be more difficult than people realize. So, if you ever find yourself wondering why someone seems cold on the surface, yet still present in your life, remember this simple truth about human nature. Distance can be an act, silence can be a shield. But genuine care has a way of revealing itself through quiet actions. And sometimes the strongest emotions are hidden behind the coldest walls. There's now. Let's talk about another behavior that quietly reveals more emotion than people realize. Because when a woman misses you but refuses to openly admit it, one thing often begins to surface in subtle ways: curiosity about your love life. And this curiosity rarely appears in a direct, obvious way. She usually won't walk up to you and say, "I still have feelings for you, so tell me if you're seeing someone." That kind of honesty requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is exactly what she may be trying to avoid. Instead, the questions come disguised as casual conversation. You might hear something like, "So, are you talking to anyone these days?" Or maybe she says it jokingly, "I'm sure you've got a whole line of girls now." Sometimes it's not even a direct question. She might mention another woman's name just to observe your reaction. She might comment on a photo you posted with someone. She might casually ask about a friend she saw you with. And on the surface, it may sound like normal curiosity, but underneath that curiosity is often something deeper. Because when someone truly has no emotional connection left, they rarely feel the need to investigate your romantic life. They don't feel the urge to know who you're spending time with, who makes you laugh, or who might be taking the place they once held. But when feelings still exist, the thought of someone else entering your life creates a quiet tension inside them. It's not always loud jealousy. Sometimes it's just a subtle discomfort, a small question in the back of their mind that keeps repeating itself. Has he moved on? And once that question appears, curiosity begins to follow. She might watch your social media a little more closely. She might notice when a new name appears in your comments. She might pay attention to who likes your pictures or appears in your stories, not because she wants to seem possessive, but because emotionally a part of her still feels connected to you. And when someone still feels connected, the idea of being replaced becomes difficult to ignore. Now, here's the interesting part about this behavior. When she asks, about other women in your life, she is often doing two things at the same time. First, she's trying to gather information, but second, she's also measuring something much deeper. She's measuring the distance between you and her. If you say there's no one else, a small sense of relief might appear inside her, not necessarily because she plans to come back immediately, but because it means the emotional door between you hasn't fully closed. But if you mention another woman, something inside her may react instantly. Maybe her tone changes slightly. Maybe she becomes quieter. Maybe she tries to hide her reaction with humor or indifference, but emotions have a way of revealing themselves in subtle ways. A pause in the conversation, a sudden shift in energy, a comment that sounds playful but carries a hint of something deeper. Because jealousy, even in small amounts, often reveals the presence of lingering feelings. Now, that doesn't mean she wants to control your life. It doesn't mean she expects you to wait forever. But it does show that the connection you once had still occupies a space in her emotional world, and that space becomes noticeable when the possibility of someone else stepping into it appears. You see, when someone misses you but hides it, they often struggle with two competing emotions. One part of them wants to move forward and protect their pride, but another part of them still wonders what it would feel like if things between you were different again. And when another person enters the picture, those two emotions collide because suddenly the possibility of losing you completely becomes real, not just in theory, but in reality. And that realization can awaken feelings that were quietly sitting beneath the surface. This is why you may notice that her curiosity about your relationships appears suddenly or repeatedly. She might bring I too up once and pretend it was nothing. Then weeks later, another question appears, another comment, another subtle attempt to understand where she stands in your life now, because even if she hides her feelings, part of her still wants to know whether there is room left for her in your story. Now, here's something important to remember. Curiosity about your love life doesn't automatically mean someone is ready to rebuild the past. Feelings and decisions are two very different things, but curiosity often reveals that the emotional connection hasn't completely faded. It shows that your life still matters enough for her to ask questions. It shows that your happiness still catches her attention. And sometimes the way someone reacts to the idea of losing you reveals more about their feelings than any confession ever could. Because when she asks about other women, she may sound casual, she may sound curious, but deep down, she's often measuring something far more personal. She's quietly trying to understand how close she still is to being replaced. And now we arrive at something that ties all of these signs together, something subtle yet incredibly powerful. Because when a woman truly misses you but hides her feelings, one pattern begins to reveal itself over time. She never fully disappears from your life. Think about that for a moment. When someone is completely done with a connection, they usually close the door entirely. The conversations stop, the messages stop, the presence fades away until eventually it feels like they were never there at all. But when someone still carries feelings they are trying to hide, something different happens. They may step back, they may create distance, they may even go silent for a while, but somehow they never vanish completely. They remain somewhere in the background of your life. Maybe weeks pass without hearing from her. You assume she has moved on. You assume she's focused on her own world now. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a small message appears. Happy birthday. Or maybe she reacts to something you posted. Maybe she sends a quick congratulations. Maybe she sends a quick congratulations when something good happens in your life. And just like that, her presence quietly reappears. Not loudly, not emotionally, just enough to remind you that she's still there. Now, many people overlook these moments because they seem small. A simple message, a short reaction, a quick check-in. But small connections often carry deeper meaning than dramatic gestures, because when someone truly wants to leave your life completely, they usually remove every reason to reconnect. They avoid conversations, they ignore updates, they create enough distance that the connection eventually fades away. But when someone misses you, even if they hide it, they often keep a tiny thread connecting them to you. That thread might be as simple as remembering your birthday. It might be a quick message during holidays. It might be a moment where they reach out just to see how you're doing. These small gestures may seem ordinary, but they reveal something important about human emotions. People who have completely let go rarely feel the need to keep showing up, but people who still care find ways to stay present, even if it's only for a moment. And sometimes that presence appears exactly when you least expect it, right when you start believing that the connection has disappeared, right when you think she has forgotten everything you shared. Suddenly, her name appears again. A message, a reaction, a small reminder that she hasn't entirely stepped out of your world. Now, this doesn't always mean she's planning to return in a dramatic way. Feelings can exist without immediate action. People can miss someone deeply while still feeling unsure about what to do next. Life becomes complicated, timing changes, circumstances shift, but emotions rarely follow simple rules. Sometimes a person can care deeply about you and still struggle with the idea of reopening the past. So, instead of fully returning, they stay connected in smaller ways. Small enough to feel safe, small enough to protect their pride, but meaningful enough to keep the bond alive. And if you pay attention over time, you'll notice that this pattern repeats itself. She may disappear for a while, then she reappears, then distance returns again, then another moment of connection shows up when you least expect it. It's like someone standing near a doorway, unsure whether to walk inside or keep standing outside. Part of her is moving forward, but another part of her isn't ready to close the door completely. And that hesitation often reveals the presence of emotions that never fully faded. Because when someone truly stops caring, they rarely leave the door open. They lock it, they walk away, and they stop looking back. But when someone misses you more than they want to admit, they often leave just enough space for a connection to remain. A message here, a reaction there, a small reminder that even though life moved forward, the chapter you shared together still exists somewhere in their story. Not forgotten, not erased, just quietly sitting in the background of their heart. And sometimes the clearest sign that someone still misses you is the simple fact that no matter how much time passes, they never fully disappear.